images. So as we go forward, just bear that in mind. The outlook, however, is positive. I'm a positive person by nature. We're addressing our SOPs. It's our policies, it's our processes, so if it doesn't work, we're changing it, or we're tossing it. But I'm not going to sit here and document everything. Because in a lean and agile environment, so my background is, I do have a project management qualification. In agile, you deliver first and document after, which contradicts government. So you document and you put all of these processes in place, and then you sit there and you wait. By that time, the concept is gone, right? So what we're trying to do is get into a lean and agile environment that says, what do we need to do today to be successful? And if we are successful, how do we replicate that, which is where the documentation comes in. So a lot of times I get asked, but what's the process for this? And do you have an SOP for that? And the answer is no. Success is not defined by process, it's defined by action. So we're going to act first and then document so that we can replicate that going forward. I hope you will be patient with us. I've spoken about cash management. So cash management is important. So you've heard the presentation from Mandla and Nishet. This is why we thought it important to explain to you how that budgeting process works. You will submit your invoices on the 1st of the month or the 30th of the preceding month. It will take us 30 days to verify, validate, put that onto the payment roll, get approval from National Treasury for the money to come through, and make the payment on time. If you are not submitting your invoices on time, I'm not going to pay you on time. 30 days, guys. We need to stick to that. I'm managing 281 productions. Everybody wants to get paid. So if you don't submit on time, you're not going to get paid on time. Just to contextualize how we are becoming leaner, faster, more agile, I know Lala spoke about the structure of the content team. So I just want to restate that. So we've combined a couple of areas again into content now. So what was local productions for the last few years is now content, which talks to local production, licensing and acquisition, and commissioning. So those areas now report directly to Lala. Why? Because when you consider content, you want to be able to consider, do I produce this? Do I license it? Do I commission it? Do I AFP it? Do I pre-sale it? What is the business model that's going to go with that content? And in the past, that meant that you had to go and consult with another division, which is why it took so long to respond. Now it sits in one area. So the decision making is a lot faster. So there's the first thing that I want you to get. The other thing is we are starting to look at our spend. I know a question was asked. I'm going to answer it now fairly generically, but I hope it gives you some sort of context to where we're going to and some comfort. So I've looked at the spend, the 1.3 billion rand spend that we got for this year, and last year was about 1.2 billion. Next year is about 1.45 billion. So we're increasing as we go along with inflation and the like. But I need to make sure that the top tiered productions, and I value them differently to the way you may value them. I'm valuing them based on the audience that they bring back. They should be focusing on that production. It's the cash cow, effectively. So we're going to try and make sure that if you have one really top tiered production from an audience perspective, that's what you focus on. So that we can start to spread the money further into the industry, amongst more producers in the industry, right? So it's going to be a challenge, but that's what we're working on. We also have a target to bring in 20% of spend to absolutely new companies that have never worked with the SABC. And then I've got a target of about 10% development. So this is people that are not even companies today. So you don't have to be tax compliant because you don't have a company. You don't have to have paid your TV license because you don't have a company. You don't need to be registered with the CSD database, which is currently a requirement. So that's the process that we're starting to bring in under industry development. It's still a little bit of work, but that's where we're starting to go to. We also want to work with student bodies and training institutions to ensure that that skill set finds a residence with the SABC. So our objective from a P2P perspective is to make sure that the SABC is the first choice for any local producer in South Africa. So we're going to find a platform for you to broadcast on. Today we're on a linear platform, but in the not too distant future we will have our own OTT platform, and the exploitation of content becomes exponential. So we don't have the restriction of 8,760 hours in a broadcast year. The other thing for producers to note, we do have performance criteria in all of the contracts that we have, and we're going to start enforcing that. So you will have audience shares to reach, you will have delivery timelines to reach, so we make sure that content is delivered to us 21 days prior to TX. In a lot of the genres, daily shows are slightly different, and the reason for that is we need to market that. If that content arrives 3 days, 4 days before TX, there's no way we can market that, there's no way we can get the audience, there's no way we can earn the revenue for the show. So it's important that you understand why we're putting these things in place. For us to perform, you need to also perform. So when the team starts asking you for that, when Simo's area under Jerry, Material Ops, starts asking for these things, please understand why these things are in place. The other things we're looking at is to ensure that we do have expansion of our content. So as we go forward, we're going to look at multilingual broadcasts, so we can really start to grow the audience. I mentioned it earlier, but just to go a little bit deeper into that, if I need to broadcast in 11 official languages and I take a business decision, certain languages are not going to be broadcast because there's just no airtime available if I consider all of my other license mandate issues to deal with. But immediately with digital, I can broadcast to the same audience, or rather what I say in my strategy that I presented internally, it was called the singular plurality of content. I can broadcast to all of you in the room and speak to you in your own language individually on digital. DVB spec says 1 video, 16 audio, 1 data stream. So technically I can deliver all of that in all languages. I don't have a clip here, but I showed it to the team earlier. We did Uzalo in Afrikaans, right? Now immediately I start tapping into that audience. And why am I interested in that? It's because I believe we have really good stories, really good content. But because we speak 11 official languages, we preclude certain sectors of the market who don't understand the language. But it's a good concept. Now, let's take a step out of the SABC now. Anybody watch Squid Games? Yeah, that was a Korean show. But you watched it because it was in English, right? Yeah? So that's the model that we want to replicate. We don't have to be bleeding edge, right? But these are simple things we can do today as we proceed. I know Jerry mentioned mixed and effects tracks, which is also important to us. We have lots of interest in our content internationally, and the first question they ask is, do you have mixed and effects? And we don't have it today because it's not delivered to us. So we can't then sell that content. If you can't sell that content, you can't earn an exploitation fee. So if you deliver, we deliver, and we both get rich. Yeah? Okay. Then I want to talk about facilities, right? So there's a lot of things that we've been doing on the facility side. If you've been to our facilities at Henley recently, you'll see that we've cleaned out the Renaissance area. There's nothing there. There's probably 1,000 some odd square meters of free space to do shiny floor shows. We await your concepts. Where the studios are currently sitting between Generations and Uvango, all of those sets are going to be taken out. My vision is an open lot there. So when you come to the SABC, you should see a production happening as you walk through the facility. So we're going to have green screens come up. This is the plan that we're looking at. So we can start to really produce content a lot faster, a lot quicker. I have an ambitious exercise to remove the drama means I run out of space for other short-term productions that you may have, a 13-parter, a 26-parter. We can't do that today because we don't have the space. We're also looking at revitalizing Studio 6 that was damaged through the fire. We have a lot of interest in some short format shows, so we're starting to prep these facilities so that when you come to us with ideas and concepts, we can show you facilities that we can utilize as well. But now technology is not in the room, but they know this. I've been very vocal with this. I'm not going to hire cameras to you. I'm not going to hire equipment to you. It's a shell. Most of you have your own requirements anyway, so you're not going to be hamstrung by you're going to use that old monopoles in the studio. So we will have a lighting grid, and hopefully you come with your lighting. If not, we will supply that in terms of what you require. So it's a slightly different model that we're looking at. It's a dry hire environment that we're looking for, so you can come in with pretty much anything that you want. What does that mean? We're moving the business from self-delivery to industry delivery. So it makes it easier for you to work with us as the SABC going forward. Right? So that's what we're looking at. Also note that we have studio facilities in all 9 provinces. I've been there, I've seen them myself. And I've said to technology again, I like the space, I don't like your kit. Can we get rid of it and bring in other kits? Now, why am I talking about that? Because all of those facilities are fibered up to Auckland Park on a high-speed IPTV link, right, in excess of 10 gigs. So you can broadcast out of Tayando and run the production in Auckland Park because of the fiber that's there. So that's the model that we're going with going forward. I also have another ambitious exercise. I want to produce a drama or a daily show in each of the 9 provinces. So the teams are working hard to find these concepts. This is why these roadshows are important, so we can actually spread the spend into the different provinces as well. So that's the model that we're looking at going forward. That's why I'm excited. Clearly you are as well, because you're standing here and you're listening to what we have to say, so that's encouraging. And hopefully together, over the next couple of months, we're going to make this work. Thank you.
Okay, after that, do we have questions? I was hoping that I would have questions because that was comprehensive. I mean, you've got all the answers and everything else, and you still need more questions. All right, this is how we're going to do it. Do I still have the genre managers here? Okay. And Simo and your team also, I think there's probably might be questions. Do you want to step up to the podium first? Or let me know if you maybe sit here for now. If there's a question that needs to be answered, then